Last year, I bought a $1,000 electric boat from China, shipped it to the US, unboxed it, and tested it out in our local lake. As my dad will tell you, it was a bit underwhelming.
This thing is completely ridiculous.
But for $1,000, it was still pretty decent, just quite low powered. So over the last few months, I've been working on a few upgrades to turn this into a faster, more powerful, and all-around better electric Chinese boat. Now the first thing I want to do to really upgrade this boat is put in a bigger and more powerful motor. Really get some better performance out of this thing. To do that, I've got this 80-pound thrust Minn Kota trolling motor. My dad found this motor used on Facebook Marketplace. I think he paid around $200 for it, which is pretty good since these things are quite expensive American-made motors. Taking a look down at the shaft shows just 2 wires, so that means it's a brushed motor, and my first thought was I can just power those from some little pulse width modulation circuit, but then I realized that since the tiller has that nice smooth turning handle instead of 3 or 5 speed indents, that means the controller is probably already a nice pulse width modulation controller, and I can just reuse it in my boat somewhere. So I'm hoping that I can just take this switch, whatever it is, like a potentiometer or something, rip it out of here, install it on the dashboard of the boat, and it'll just be like an easy peasy swap. I don't have to do too much custom wiring, that sort of thing. But I won't know until I get in here, so let's crack this thing open and see what's inside. Opening the control head up revealed that circuit board for the controller, which is entirely encased in potting compound to waterproof it. I can't see much on the board really, but that's alright because I only need access to the inputs. And if anything, I'd rather leave all that waterproofing in place. I need the motor shaft separate from the bow mount it came with, and that shaft is also way too long for my boat since I plan on just replacing the rudder with the motor. This shaft is some sort of fiberglass or other composite that Minn Kota claims is unbreakable, and that seems pretty true as I had to use this massive pipe cutter my dad had to slowly work my way through it, being careful not to sever those motor wires. Now here's my plan for the motor swap. First of all, as a refresher, since it's been a couple years since the unboxing video, the boat has an inboard motor that it came with that powers a shaft running through a stern tube to the propeller. As you can see from the waterline stains, the prop is barely fully underneath the water, and you might remember we were churning up some serious aeration back there because of that problem. So in addition to replacing that motor, I also want to get the prop deeper into the water. I think I can achieve both of those goals by actually swapping out the rudder here with this Minn Kota motor. As you can see, the rudder is mostly built out of rust at this point, so it's time to do something about that thing anyway. The linkage for the rudder inside the stern should theoretically allow me to turn the motor, letting it act both like a new rudder and giving me thrust vector steering. Theoretically. So we started pulling the rudder out after opening up its linkage, and that gave us our first look at what we were working with. These compression bushings keep the water out and are mounted just inside of a couple sets of bearings. But of course neither will fit the Minn Kota shaft because that would just be too easy and the world doesn't work that way. So instead, I got some Teflon tubing and started working on making some new custom bushings that would fit inside of that stern tube and would also fit around the Minn Kota motor shaft. We don't have a lathe, so big thanks to Don from 1010 Engineering in Southwest Florida for helping machine the OD on these Teflon tubes. I got the first bushing cut for the propeller shaft. The only problem is the inner diameter was a little small. Got some sandpaper wrapped around a towel, wrapped around a drill bit, so I can work on sanding out the inner diameter. My dad called this redneck engineering, but I think it works pretty well. I don't think I really need ball bearings here because there just isn't that much load on this thing. It's barely turning 90 degrees, and power steering isn't exactly a feature you'd expect on a boat like this. So some Teflon tubes and some grease are probably going to be fine here, especially since this is all above the water line anyway. Next I had to figure out how to actually steer the motor since I got rid of the rudder linkage with the rudder. In true visionary style, I simply copied the old linkage and welded up a new lever arm that would fit the Minn Kota shaft. I had to add a set screw into it, which, why tap the steel when you can just weld a nut onto it? A coat of primer later, and this thing looks almost professional. Or at least as professional as the original, which I'm not sure is saying much, but hey, it works, doesn't it? I put the motor back in the stern tube that the rudder came out of, and that black collar on top there is just the original Minn Kota mount, and it's there to help support the weight of the motor so that the set screw on the collar isn't holding it up, it's just helping to turn it. Now, that original motor is basically just dead weight, so it's gotta go. The propeller shaft is also useless now, but I was a bit worried about opening up the stuffing box it passed through, since more holes in the boat is probably not a good thing, and I didn't want to have to seal those holes back up and worry about them in the future, so I took my dad's advice and we just hacked that propeller right off, and then left the shaft there sealing the original hole. With the original motor gone, we also don't need that original controller that powered it, so I pulled that out and found a few stowaways living in my boat in the process. In that controller's place, I put the Minn Kota's controller, and for now just temporarily connected it to the boat's electrical system with some wire nuts to see if this was even going to work the way we had hoped. This piece here is the potentiometer, and that controls the speed of the motor, and so at some point I'll have to figure out how to relocate that up to the helm. For now though, the boat is basically ready to test out that new motor, and we were definitely excited to give it a try and see how it compared to the old setup. So we put the boat back in the lake and got ready to set out on the maiden voyage with the new upgraded motor. I should also point out that my dad is an oceanographer and has piloted or at least been aboard just about every type of boat there is, and even for him this was something of a unique experience. You'll notice the rear bench seat is off. That's just for testing purposes here so I can reach in and access that potentiometer that controls the motor, at least until I can find a better solution for that switch. It's going to take me a minute here.
Yeah, that's alright. I've got the lower here.
The on-off button is my fingers screwing these terminals on. After making the battery connections, it was time for the moment of truth. Alright, so I think we're on. Reverse. Coming up. Alright.
Whoa! Alright, neutral.
Yeah. Wow, that was quick.
Alright, give me 25%.
I'm guessing that's 25%. I feel like that's already moving faster than the original motor.
Much faster, and you can hear we're not cavitating. Oh, this is so much nicer. Oh my god.
It almost turned in its own length.
Man, I like helm. Oh wow. Alright, fire this puppy up a little bit.
Alright, I'm gonna go to what I think is maybe 50. And this is where we discovered just how important that stupid little rusty rudder really was to giving this relatively flat-bottom boat any hope of tracking straight. I feel like because there's not that much of the boat in the water, it's hard to track. Does it feel like a fan boat? Yeah, we're drifting all over the place.
Yeah. Because you just got the boat in. There's nothing in the water. There's no keel. There's no rudder. There's no nothing. This is like putting a big outboard on a pie plate. Alright, once I get it turned around and under control,
Yeah.
unleash this thing. Oh my god, this is hysterical. Alright, wind her up.
Aye, aye, Captain, full steam. It actually bleeds.
It healed over. Oh my god. It oversteered so badly. Oh my god. I can't find neutral on the steering.
Let's trip around, see if you can bring us up to the dock, and I'm going to launch my drone from the dock.
At some point, you're gonna have to slow us down.
And I'm going to put you at half speed.
Yeah, that's a good plan. Good thing the dock is rubber. Kill it, kill it. You might want some reverse.
Yeah, tell me when.
Alright. Whoa! I brought in big ships that was harder than that. Oh, there is no steering. We quadrupled the speed, but we've totally gotten rid of any steering. What we're going to need to do is put a fin on the rear of the prop shaft as a rudder.
Yeah, well, it's got a tiny one.
I don't know.
It's like a little mini skig.
That's to keep the prop from hitting a hard bottom, not the steer. Tap reverse. One more.
You might have to do a powered turn.
Yeah, alright. Tap reverse again. Wait till we spin around. Alright, that's good. Alright, let's try to figure out where the middle is here. Alright, go ahead and open it up.
We're leaving awake now.
To avoid oversteering, I kind of got to steer into it and then let the boat catch up. I feel like a car on ice, you know, when I keep fishtailing. Let's give hurricane level winds here. It's not helping. Alright, so let's do a turning circle here. This thing literally turns in its own length. Look at this.
Oh, wow.
I feel like a cork. Almost hit the owl. Sorry, Al. You want a chance to try embarrassing yourself at the helm here?
Yeah.
Alright, tap reverse. Good.
I was gonna say, I think you can sit up here with me, but no, you gotta be back there controlling the...
Yeah, I'm the engine room. Oh, this is too funny.
You see the potentiometer there?
Yeah.
Alright, can you give me a little forwards?
Very smooth.
Yeah, this thing doesn't track very straight.
Yeah, bingo.
Alright, full steam ahead, matey. Oh, jeez. It's killing
Yeah, well, did you hear someone talking about that sounded a lot like me?
Oh my god. I'm impressed you did as well as you did. Let's work on a boat. You steer into the skid?
There's not supposed to be a skid. I think you're having a little trouble with the helm. My entire life I've been seasick twice. One was in a hurricane. You're moving to number 3.
Yeah, give me half speed.
Yeah, I'm kind of got a sense of what you need here.
Are you supposed to listen to the captain for that? Alright, you've landed.
Oh my god.
I don't know if it's better to get off on the dock or to just run it straight into the beach.
I'd beach it.
Yeah.
This thing literally turns in its own way.
full speed. Alright.
Yeah, that was 45 degrees off zero, but oh my god.
It's funny, it actually requires a crew of 2 now.
Alright, I'll let you come back in here and take the thrusters offline.
All I do is laugh at the boat.
Alright, well that was an interesting first test. For now I'm buttoning it back up with the rear bench in place, and we've obviously got some work to do to make this thing more controllable, but the power and speed are definitely an improvement. Now we're actually leaving a wake, and the boat feels quite powerful for its small size and displacement. When it comes to control, fortunately there's a pretty easy fix for that. We found one of those bolt-on rudders designed for trolling motor shafts and added that, which means that on our next test, we should be able to actually steer this thing without entirely relying on thrust vectoring. And that little rudder should also function a bit like a skeg to keep the boat tracking better. But before our next test, we've got other work to do, including adding solar panels to the roof so we don't have to rely on shore power to charge the batteries. We took the canopy off so I could start figuring out the solar panel placement. I had originally thought that I could get 3 of these 100-watt panels up there, and while that was technically possible with the real estate, they overrun the edges a bit, which I didn't like aesthetically, and also that rear panel sticks out way past where the metal supports are under that floppy fiberglass canopy. So I think 2 panels are going to just be safer and will still give me more than enough solar power to charge those batteries. While I was working on that, my dad was trying to get the old shine back in our taffrails. There's a lot of corrosion and just marine grime on the boat, but we found that it pretty much all buffed right out. Putting a layer of clear coat over the chrome now will also help prevent us from having to do this again next year. My dad also wanted to do something about the end of those rails to prevent them from rusting and staining the fiberglass against them, so we just hit them with some black rust converter paint, and that will give them a nice little finish at the bottom. We also took the opportunity to wash the boat, and it's amazing to see what a difference that makes, taking 2 years of grime off of that fiberglass top coat. Part of the problem is that even though the boat is self-bailing, the rain still fills it a little bit in the low spots, like down at your feet and sometimes in the bench seats, and it just causes a lot of grime to build up until we finally get around to cleaning it off. I know it looks like my dad is doing most of the deck swabbing here, so to speak, but I promise I was washing too. I was just also the cameraman here for a lot of the time. Plus, at the same time, I was still working on those solar panels and getting them mounted to the rails on the canopy, then wiring in this solar charge controller that I found on Amazon. I got some cable sheathing in gray that I think will help hide a lot of that ugly wiring that now has to run down the taffrail here, and the whole thing is coming together pretty nicely. The solar panels are already charging up those batteries now, and that's going to keep this thing basically always at a full charge. The last major issue was to get the whole 2-man crew thing down to 1 by moving the engine room controls back up to the helm where they're supposed to be. I cut the potentiometer that controls the motor speed off of Minn Kota's control board, and then I soldered on a longer 3-wire cable. Then we had to use the old tape measure trick to feed it up into the helm. From there, we just drilled a hole to fit it and ran it right through the fiberglass at the captain's station, where it turned out the fiberglass was a lot thicker than we were expecting. And with the wiring finished and the solar panels in place, it was time to put the boat back in the water for another test of all the upgrades together. You can feel the power.
It's so much quieter when you're not putting half of the world's atmosphere into the water behind you. It still oversteers a little bit, but it's not terrible. I mean, it was almost unsteerable without that rudder.
Yeah.
This is actually good. The thing was just sadly slow before.
And now the only thing we need to do to it is just get a little bit more helm. We just need a bigger rudder. We just need a longer rudder. Okay, see, under low speed, I actually have very good reverse steering now. I'm surprised. This is pretty stiff. This is actually now a very nice boat. It's comfortable. There's plenty of freeboard. You're not going to get wet. I mean, that's what these people, oh yeah, I can get a John boat for $200. Yeah, well, where do you get a John boat that's got 12 inches of freeboard on it, you know? Great John boat. Spent a lot of time in little John boats. They're not that fun. So in one of my first videos about the boat, I mentioned that if anyone comes up with a good name for it and I choose that name, then I would send them a free copy of one of my books. So I am proud to announce that Douglas K gave the best idea that I loved, and that was the sunny side up here. I think it's perfect for the boat. It's yellow, looks like fried eggs, and it has solar panels on the roof finally, like I always wanted. So congratulations, Douglas K. I've got a email address down here. You can shoot me your information. I'll confirm it's you, and I'll send you 2 of my books. So let me know which one of my books you'd like. DIY Lithium Batteries, DIY Solar Power, The Ultimate Do-It-Yourself E-Bike Guide, or The Electric Bike Manifesto. And I really appreciate you suggesting that name because I think it's awesome, and I'm glad it's on the boat. To christen our new boat, officially named the Sunny Side Up, and to welcome it into our lake in its final form, we're going to go through the ceremony that mariners have done for, I don't know if it's thousands of years, but probably hundreds of years, of breaking a bottle of champagne over the bow here. Hopefully not breaking the boat. I hereby christen you the SS Sunny Side Up. Nice.
Well done.
L'chaim. I think it's the sugar kind. Actually, it might be the plastic kind. Just in case you were worried, this is not a real glass bottle. It's one of those breakaway prop bottles. Yeah, that actually shattered way more than I expected. That really lived up to its name. So there you have it, folks. I'm pretty happy with how this has turned out. The new motor is much more powerful, increasing the top speed from about 1 or 2 knots to around 5 knots, and the performance is much nicer, even if I probably need to increase the size of that bolt-on rudder. And with the solar panels, I never have to worry about charging the boat again. The one last thing I may want to add are some bilge pumps on either side of the boat, since the 2 pontoons can occasionally get some water in them from hard driving sideways rain that works its way under that rear bench. A few times a year I have to put a hose down there and pump out about a gallon or 2 of water, and so an automatic bilge pump in each pontoon would save that step. I did have an issue there during Hurricane Milton where I wasn't able to get the water out during the hurricane winds and rain, and so I have developed a bit of a list here, but it's fine. In the future I just need to have a bilge pump in here so this doesn't happen. But other than that, I am quite happy with how this project has turned out. Thank you everyone for watching, and now it's time for my favorite part of all of my videos, the E-Bikes for Good segment. This is a program I started to give free electric bikes to folks in need of a form of transportation, but who just can't afford one. This week I am excited to be giving away a Ebike Horizon electric bike, so a big thank you to the company Ebike for helping me make this a possibility. I've had a lot of fun riding a Ebike Horizon because it's just such an accessible, easy to ride bike that somehow still offers some serious performance despite its comfortable, easygoing design. As a full suspension e-bike, you've got shocks both front and rear to make the ride comfortable, especially for folks with back issues or other mobility issues. But unlike most full suspension e-bikes, it's still a step-through frame, so it's really easy to hop on and off. You don't have to swing your leg up and over a really high bike. The Ebike Horizon can be ridden relaxingly with pedal assist, or you can lay into that throttle to take full use of the bike's power, with a rear 1400 watt peak rated motor. Of course, you don't have to keep it in high power mode, so if you want a more relaxing ride, you can do that by using lower power levels, but I like that it can still hit speeds of up to 28 miles per hour when I want it to. giving me the best of both worlds, high power and a relaxing ride. Plus, it's got the parts and components that so many people are looking for. The fat tires allow you to ride on just about any terrain, but they're still a bit smaller than others at 24 inches, so the bike isn't too massive. The brakes are hydraulic disc brakes for reduced maintenance and stronger stopping power, and believe it or not, the bike even folds in half to make it smaller for transporting. Plus, it's priced at just $1,499, so there's a ton of value here. Of course though, not everyone can afford an e-bike, and so if you are someone who could really use an electric bike like the Ebike Horizon for getting around because you don't have another form of transportation, then this could be a good opportunity for you. One lucky randomly selected winner will be chosen to receive this bike for free. To enter, all you have to do is go to EbikeSchool.com/ebikesforgood and fill out the form. That's it, there's nothing to buy, there's no catch, it's just a program designed to match awesome bikes like the Ebike Horizon with people who can benefit most from them. From the deserving entrants, there will be one randomly selected winner to be announced at the end of my next video. And speaking of, it's now time to announce the winner from my last video. And the randomly selected deserving entrant is...
Bryant D.
So congratulations, and if anybody else wants to hopefully win this bike, be sure to head on over to EbikeSchool.com/ebikesforgood for your chance to get your hands on a free Ebike Horizon electric bike. And the final last but not least here is the winner of my book giveaway for my last video, with the randomly selected commenter as...
Law-picking locksmith. I see what you did there.
So congratulations, just let me know which book you'd like. You can choose from my DIY Lithium Batteries, DIY Solar Power, the Ultimate Do-It-Yourself e-bike guide, or my latest book, The Electric Bike Manifesto. And anybody else who hopes to win a free copy of one of my books, all you gotta do is put a comment down below this video. You could say anything you'd like, and hopefully you will be the randomly selected commenter at the end of my next video. And anybody else who wants one of my books but doesn't want to wait to hopefully win a free one, you can always find them on Amazon. Alright, thanks for watching everybody. I'll see you here next time.